but I'm not done yet.
Right.
I guess is the answer. Do I want to write more or publish more books? Do I want to be a podcaster?
Yeah.
I've done a little bit of that.
It's very glamorous, as you can
I
see.
can see.
You are
I
a
can
podcaster
see.
now.
Yeah.
This June marks the 30th anniversary of the Advanced Laser Applications Workshop, a milestone event you do not want to miss. Connect with manufacturers and suppliers from automotive, aerospace, agriculture, and fabrication to explore what's new in laser technology. Join us June 13th through the 15th at the Suburban Collection Showplace in Novi, Michigan. Visit fmamfg.org to save your spot at ALAW today.
Welcome to the Fabricator Podcast. I'm Dan Davis with the Fabricator Magazine. I'm joined by Rafael Guerrero, who is our editor for the Welder Magazine. How's it going, Rafael?
It's going well. It's good to be back.
Yes. Long time no see.
It's been
Gareth is joining us as well. Gareth Slager, who's our digital editor. And for this episode, we'll be speaking with Andy Billman. He is with Arise. What's the name of the company?
Arise Industrial.
Arise Industrial. They are in the business of purchasing and working with metal fab shops, helping them achieve their utmost efficiency.
Yeah.
And he's also got a book called Turning Setbacks Into Comebacks.
Yeah, Setbacks Into Comebacks.
All right, I just added another word.
Yeah.
But he spoke at our FMA annual meeting. It was a really great speaker in the sense that he's had a long career, obviously with some setbacks, and he's also dealt with some health issues. Really inspiring story, and he knows the industry, so it was great to kind of learn what he had to say. But he also is a graduate of Miami University, so I had to ask him. He played football there, offensive
Miami
line.
University.
Correct, cradle of coaches.
Yeah.
So as we were talking about that, I figured we could just make the segue into football talk. And
not soccer.
well, I know that you want to talk soccer, so just
I can talk soccer too.
Yeah.
so I guess I would try to be open about it and let other people enjoy things they like to talk about. So go ahead.
Dan, who's your favorite Premier League team?
My favorite Premier League team would be the one with the most Americans on it, which I understand this year's Leeds.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
At one
mine
time
is-
it was Everton. Everton had some Americans on it.
And Fulham.
Fulham,
Fulham Football Club.
Fulham.
Yeah.
I know who that is. I don't know.
Fulham.
Fulham.
Yeah. Full.
They play at a place called Craven Cottage,
Really?
right on the river
Yeah.
there. Yeah, Thames River.
What, we're gonna step out
not
the
that-
way and watch Gareth like flex his Premier League.
That's all I
knowledge.
know.
It's not that far from where my favorite team plays.
And where is that?
They play. Chelsea plays in that same area of London, and I've actually been out there, and it was, once in a lifetime experience for me because obviously where we live,
And-
I don't know how often I'll get to go out there again.
And
so.
where's Chelsea in this year's Premier League season?
It's not a good.
By the time this
Okay.
airs, the season will be over. Mostly.
Yeah.
Well,
We'll
what's the-
probably be mid-table, probably. And
Oh, so they don't have to
new
worry about
manager.
relegation?
I think
Another new
they're
manager.
yeah, they're on their third manager. of the
I've
season.
lost track. There was
And
just
do you have a
announcement
favorite
recently.
team, Gareth?
No. Yeah, Liverpool.
And where are they in this year's Premier League?
Of same mid-table, not great. Not
Okay.
great this year. Two powerhouse clubs that are having a very mediocre season. Yeah.
Seems like there's a lot of disappointed fans in
Yeah.
this room.
Yeah.
Well,
And where's Leeds?
Leeds is like
They're worse.
battling relegation.
Oh, so the American plan
Americans
didn't
are
work
not
out so
helping.
well?
No.
Well,
or
they-
the American coach too.
Yeah. Jesse Marsh.
Didn't they
from-
just fire him?
Yeah.
Oh.
He's from Racine, Wisconsin. Not too
Really?
far from here.
They play soccer there?
Where did he play college? I can't remember.
Actually, do
you know that?
I think he went to Princeton because I remember
wow.
they kept showing him at during
Yes.
the tournament. It's like,
Wow.
oh, I didn't know he went to Princeton.
Raphael was a sports guy. So where's Wrexham in the Premier League stand?
They're like 4 divisions down.
What?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Ted Lasso hasn't got them up to the Premier League yet.
He's
They're mixing a few different things.
Ryan Reynolds and Ted Lasso are working on it collectively. And the
Yeah.
guy from Always Sunny.
Ted Lasso is Ryan Reynolds' cousin, right? Isn't that how it works?
He just
Yes.
Dan's making up weird soccer rumors.
Oh, so anyone watch the third season of Ted Lasso with Ryan Reynolds?
He becomes Ted Lasso.
Yes.
Yes.
He becomes an evil Ted Lasso.
Right.
But instead
Just
of
at the
growing a
end.
mustache to be evil, he actually is clean shaven.
He just grows mutton chops.
Right. And he just eats biscuits in front of you. He doesn't make you any.
Right.
He eats biscuits and doesn't offer you any.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I think this has come up before in conversation. I think it's worth discussing. Gareth, not a big fan of Ted Lasso, which is
Yeah.
kind of like hating the Pope.
I fully accept that I'm an outlier, but I can't get into it.
Man, you used the word cheese before in a conversation to
Yeah,
describe it.
Yeah.
Raphael, do you like cheese?
Of course.
Yes. Who doesn't like cheese?
I love
But old
cheese.
mean old Gareth hates cheese.
Listen,
Mr. Optimism hates Mr. Optimism.
I love cheese. Give me a block of blue cheese, I'll eat it.
Blue cheese is you feed blue cheese to people you don't want to visit your house anymore.
That's right. Fine. That's fine.
Blue cheese is the most unwelcome cheese there is on earth. So
I
I'm
get it.
sorry.
Just a big hunk of mold, but
What? Okay, so obviously you have an opinion about Ted Lasso because you actually tried to watch it.
I did try to watch it.
And what was the first thing that jumped up? Like, I can't do this.
Well, if you ever watch the original promos that
The
Ted Lasso's characters
commercials
developed,
that were on during the last time the World Cup was in North America.
well, it's when NBC Sports owned.
Oh, the
you know,
Premier
they
League.
got the rights to air the
Okay.
Premier League, and they used this Ted Lasso character to promote that. And he was a former NFL coach,
Correct.
who becomes the head coach for Tottenham.
Yes.
And he just gets everything right. He was more of a jerk in those promos. I kind of wanted more of that.
Yeah. That's what I was expecting too when I first saw it, because I remember those commercials.
Yeah.
Like, that'll
Very
be
funny.
I'm curious about this show that everyone loves, and then it turns out, he's not a jerk anymore.
Yeah, it becomes way too cute. Yeah.
So most people would feel happy that finally we've sent somebody to Europe that's not a jerk.
Listen, I agree. It's fine. I've only met one other person who agrees with me that they're not a fan of it, but
Who's that
everyone-
other person?
he's also a soccer fan.
Who's now in prison?
Yeah. Well, for his sake, I hope not.
That's not good. Sorry I made that joke. I feel like we have to rebuild our relationship. So on that note, what have we learned? Ryan Reynolds, great in the third season of Ted Lasso.
Yes, that's a fact.
Wrexham fighting for relegation from the Premier
Yeah,
League.
also another fact.
Yes. And Air Bud will soon be signed by Manchester United.
Yep.
Was there
Breaks
an
the transfer
Air Bud
record.
soccer movie?
Man,
I think
the best.
there should be, right?
Hello. Victory with the best goalie of all time.
Oh my God! It's
The Italian
Air
stallion
Bud
himself.
Air Bud World Pup.
Yeah,
Oh.
I'm telling you. No, I'm talking about Stallone.
What?
Stallone
was
in
in Air Bud?
Victory.
Oh, I never saw that.
Oh, it's okay.
Isn't it Pele in that?
Yeah, Pele's in there.
Okay.
Or I think it's technically Pelé.
Pele.
I think it is.
Another soccer fact from Dan.
I think I actually know that one.
Pele?
Pelé.
All right.
I think. I don't know. I've never been to Brazil.
I mean, we
I'm
are.
not sure I'm allowed in Brazil. Yeah, Air Bud. He's done it all. So I'm really looking forward to his debut in Premier League.
Oh, he did one with volleyball.
I mean, he's all over. He's multi.
Done all of them, yeah.
talented.
And expanded it to
football.
have.
And you would think I'd have kids, but actually I don't. I just watch these on the weekend. It's for my Air Bud collection.
The baseball movie Air Bud was in is called Seventh Inning Fetch.
There you go. My favorite are the puppies, where it's called like Space Buddies. That's a personal favorite.
For some reason, there is a picture of a raccoon holding a baseball on that Air Bud movie poster.
Oh, what?
Don't remember there being
don't know.
a raccoon in that one, but that was maybe like 20 years ago. I
Have
saw
you
it. So
seen it? Have you seen all the Air Bud movies?
He
Yes,
actually,
all of
he's
them,
actually borrowed
Oh, man.
4 of my DVDs.
Yeah.
I actually need them back.
Oh, okay.
I'm having a view-in next weekend.
Next week.
Me and my church group.
That's amazing. Well, all right. Where do we go from here?
I think we should enjoy some serious conversation with somebody who knows what they're talking about.
Yeah.
So once again, please enjoy this episode of thefabricator.com. Thank you.
This episode of the Fabricator Podcast is brought to you by Nuts, Bolts, and Thingamajigs. It's summer, and that means NBT camp season. Introducing young people to manufacturing and skilled trades, these hands-on high-tech programs are not your typical summer camps. Campers expand their minds and develop new skills in design, welding, fabricating, engineering, and more. For more info, visit nutsandboltsfoundation.org. And now back to the episode.
Hello, Dan Davis here with the Fabricator Magazine. Welcome to the Fabricator Podcast. Did I say of the Fabricator Magazine? Doesn't really matter. Gareth doesn't care. I'm joined here by Lincoln Bruner. He helps us out with the Tube and Pipe Journal and the Fabricator. And today's guest is Andy Billman. He's a longtime metals veteran. I'll say that. We'll probably get in a little bit into it. And he's also written a book, Setbacks Into Comebacks. And he provided the keynote address here at the FMA annual meeting on the last day of the conference. And really, I mean, just a lifetime of experience that, frankly, I mean, you're a driven individual. And I and that's totally kind of not, we had a consultant come into our organization, and there's D's and there's all these other letters, and whatever letter you are is I'm not. So it's kind of, I love like interviewing people like you just to kind of capture, what's their motivations. Can you give us an kind of overview of your experience in the metals industry, and then maybe we can kind of jump into the book?
Sure. Happy to. And the drive for me, by the way, is, people ask that question a lot. Is it? Did you learn that, or I think it's innate. My dad, I shared, was a high school football coach and a Marine, and just a tough guy. And I credit him for some of his genes. And the way I got into metals manufacturing is actually quite comical. When I got to college at Miami of Ohio, I was a football player there and captain, and played 3 seasons, and played an extra season, 5th season, came home, and, my dad grabbed me and just kind of literally ripped me out of bed, rightfully so, because he's one of those guys like, what's your next job?
Right.
You're not going to lay around at home. And so how I got into the metals industry, I had no plan of getting into the metals industry. I didn't know anything about the metals industry, but I knew about this company in Columbus, Ohio called Worthington Industries.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I had kind of a soft referral, and I went and knocked on the door and said, I need a job. My dad said I need a job. And I did need a job because, at that time I was engaged, and, I needed to get to work. So that's how I got into the metals industry. I literally, I almost begged for that job. They weren't hiring anybody. And first job they had was, hey, you can work in the plant. I had a college degree, and didn't matter. I needed a job.
Right.
And so away I went and learned a lot in the plant. I learned how important, if you're going to be in and around metal manufacturing, the money is made in the plant.
Yeah.
If you're a manager, you're overhead. But the men and women that actually turn the product into something for a customer, they're the heroes. So that was instructive for me, and that's how I got into it.
Yeah. And your book, Setbacks Into Comebacks, is kind of up against that background of a career in a variety of like metals related jobs. And maybe if you can comment on some of those, you don't have to give away the whole book, but and maybe where you are today, because I think you're kind of living your words.
Trying to, failing maybe here and there, but yeah, I mean that opportunity that I had, that initial opportunity led to another opportunity and what have you, and certainly a setback or two along the way. Whereby, I had stepped out of the metal industry, I thought, but I ended up working for a former customer, and guess what? They bought metals. And so, as you can imagine, I leaned into that and got, pretty helpful for the company by doing that. And, one thing led to another, and that turned into another massive kind of setback for me because, I lost everything in that deal when I went to work for another company for different reasons, and timing matters and what have you. And I learned a lot from doing that. Put my personal capital at risk and put my family at risk. And but we pushed through that, and that was kind of the real first setback that I had. in my mid 30s, and I was crushed. I was damaged through that because I had always been around winners and always wanted to be a winner.
Right.
And when you lose, you don't want to talk about that, but I lost big time. Lost the money that I invested in, but I learned a lot, and I turned that into a comeback. I really did, and had an opportunity to come back to the company, to Worthington Industries. They gave me an opportunity, and I had some success. And right about the time where I thought I had made it, like I'm the president of this $1 billion business, things got soft, and the company asked me to step aside. Wow. Another massive setback, and it really emotionally impacted me. Anybody that's ever lost a job or been told to kind of move aside, that doesn't feel good.
No, and it impacts your self-worth. It impacts
everything.
Your even your willingness to get up in the morning and go to work is just.
Amen. Yep.
So tell us a little bit about what led to the book. Like, what was the impetus to put all this into a book? A book project is not a light endeavor.
It is not, and let me just share with you, like, I didn't wake up and say I'm gonna author a book. Right. My kids, God bless them, all of them. I have two girls and two boys. I went through this when I got diagnosed. So, after I lost my job, right, and, getting impacted personally from that. Furthermore, I got brain cancer, and just that really put me down. I mean, physically, that one put me down. And my kids, I've always been a journaler. I'm one of those guys, I need to write something to get it embedded in my brain, no pun intended, with the brain. I still have at least half a brain left. And so my kids, they said, Dad, I'm emotional too. I'm always an emotional guy, especially the older I get. They said, you need to write a book. I said, I don't know how to write a book. How do I do that? And so I got some help. Yeah. And they encouraged me to turn my journals, my life story, into a book. That's how we did it.
When were you diagnosed?
Losing track of time. 2018.
Wow.
Yeah, and it hit me cold. Yeah. No one expects. There was no run in. I had 2 seizures, and
this is in between visits to a customer.
Yeah,
correct.
It was. Yeah, and it really wasn't very wise.
But I mean, that's why when hearing you, the driven part of it, and to hear, to me, that's you're given a chance to have that perspective.
Yeah,
and a hell of an employee, but man, that's something else.
Yeah, my dad taught my brother and I and my sister too to, when you get pushed down, you got to get up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So when you were initially diagnosed, what was your career situation at that particular moment?
I was working after I left Worthington, I had a really unique opportunity to work for a private family investment group.
Okay.
And that was a big change. And I like to, as you can probably tell, I like to learn. I like to push myself to learn and go and grow.
Right.
And it was a great opportunity. I helped them actually spend their money, put their money to work. And I put, my wife and I made some investments along the way too. And my job was really to find a metal manufacturing company, because that was my background, very natural for me. So I learned about the M&A process and, really kind of got out in the market. And going through all that, I worked through the whole situation and radiation and chemo and all that nasty stuff. But
oh my goodness,
I worked through the whole thing and kept going. And we bought our first company down in near Memphis, Tennessee, in 2018.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've got another one in the portfolio.
Yeah.
as well.
We have 2 other ones.
Okay.
One in Wisconsin, one in Minnesota. Soon to be another one in Minnesota.
That's awesome.
It's been great. I have just a awesome partner that I actually worked with at Worthington Industries. He's a pure manufacturing leader, best in the business. And so I'm the guy, kind of the culture guy, and I go look for opportunities and companies to invest. And he takes care of our team very well and helps us grow.
So many questions, but from that point of view, what do you see in companies that make you kind of interested in it? How do you being CEO, culture officer? I think you used the phrase in your presentation. What do you look for in potential companies that you might want to invest in?
Super question, and something I'm really passionate about. My partner Zach and I, we both can see the same thing. So when I go in a manufacturing plant, I can actually see culture, good cultures or bad cultures, or lack thereof, and I can see it by looking at people's eyeballs. Wow. And how when I'm walking through their plant,
really,
are they smiling? Are they attentive? Do they look towards me? And a lot of times I'm in the plants, they don't know who I am or why I'm there. But I look for cleanliness. If the place is a mess and it's dirty and it's dark and people don't want to make eye contact, you can measure culture a lot of different ways.
Oh, yeah.
And so I've been able to develop that, my partner and I have, as well as our other leaders in our group. We actually search for culture. Second thing we search for is we don't buy startup companies. We buy steady state companies that have a great culture and a great
track record,
repetition, track record.
Yep.
And we also look for leaders that we can help. So my job is really, along with my colleague, is to lead the leaders.
Yeah.
Right.
So we don't say manage the managers. I don't manage anything. Our jobs are to get our leaders to rise up,
build them up,
help them, support them, and get out of their way.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's really kind of my job and my partner's job.
Is this a great time to be doing what you're doing?
When you think about what we're going through as a society, and you might want to run away from it. I think metal manufacturing, it's so sticky. I think it's going to be here forever. Is it going to have its ebbs and flows based on inflation and metal pricing and all that kind of stuff? Sure. But I'm a very optimistic guy, so I think it's a great time to invest. I really do.
I loved the part of your presentation, how you were thrown into positions where you were given a chance to excel in an area where you probably didn't have a lot of experience. And the story of you sitting in the whirlpool, waiting room, waiting for an order just for anything when you worked for Worthington, and then the time you were asked at Worthington to kind of help with the purchasing process, which when you first started, I'm like, oh, this is kind of interesting, but there was a definite thought process to that. Can you cover both of those things? I think people would love hearing about it.
I can try to. I'll start with, it was maybe simpler for me to jump into chasing, I call them big fish, even though I'm not a fisherman, but trying to get into clients.
It was like key accounts for Worthington.
It was key account. That was actually, my title. And it was a little bit more innate for me because I was fairly decent at that. And it's all based on trust and relationships. That's why people buy from you. At the end of the day, it's not because of your metal is maybe, different, but you combine that with some things behind that to help customers, you can win. The purchasing opportunity was just a real stretch role for me. And I really didn't know what I was getting into, to be honest with you. Worthington at the time, and probably still is this way, it's a little bit of a sink or swim culture. So they don't give you the roadmap. There's no book. There's no someone around your shoulder telling you how to do. They just said, Andy, you're going to be the vice president of purchasing. Figure it out.
Wow.
And we did. Not because of me, by the way. What I did is I co-opted the purchasing team. I said, we can do better. We're going to help this sales team because we don't have anything to buy if we don't sell anything. Doesn't that make logical sense? And we just got right and close with the market, and the steel manufacturers, they loved it because their business was growing. Why? Because we were selling more, so we needed more steel. So we just created a circle that was powerful, and it gave me the opportunity to, again, a total stretch role many people were looking at that like maybe not deserving of that, or what the heck do I know?
Yeah.
I just owned it.
Right.
First time I walked in with that team, I said, I'll never know as much as you all do or the guys in the plant, but I'm here. I'm the president. Let me know how I can help.
Wow. When you talk about those self-regenerating cycles, you and the customers and so forth, we've had that talk with other people, and that it goes back to what we were saying about relationship building, right? Because the relationship with your customers, your relationship with the people on the floor, and the other leaders in your organization. Tell us a little bit more about what you've learned over the years about building up the people, the other leaders, the other people around you, and the value of that for a business.
It's huge, because without that, you maybe have a nice company, but a lot of companies, sadly, the way they run their companies, they kind of keep people at bay or in their role, static, down here. I'm the president, I'm the owner, I'm the whatever. If you haven't learned, I like to invert things. I like to flip them around, and my partner and I we come into a manufacturing company, and we just say, how can I help? How can I help? And at first, people, you have to build trust. When I go into a plant and there's a guy running a press brake, and I'm helping him or helping him organize his area, they're looking at me like the owner, like I'm doing it in a disingenuous way. And I look back and I say, I work for you. And they go, no. I said, I work for you. You make the money for our company and for our customers. How can I help?
Wow.
That's our strategy. And I don't know if I answered your question perfectly, but
no, that's great.
You have to give your people an opportunity. Most people that I've met, not all, they want to grow. They want to be noticed. They want to grow. They want to have an opportunity. And sometimes you have to guide them that way.
Sure.
And tell them and support them.
Right.
So you don't move somebody into a new role and then you let them go because it went terribly. All my partner says to them is, what did you learn? Right. I don't like the word failure. I like the word learn. What did you learn? Now, you don't want to repeat what didn't work,
right?
But you give the support of the team to try different things and help them grow. At the end of the day, that's our job.
So you mentioned growth, and it's the last, outside the pandemic, but bookending the pandemic, the manufacturing times are very good for manufacturing. Our metal fabricating audience, and there's a lot of people talking about growth. Some people, you can tell when they talk about growth, is very kind of conservative. They know, and I know you have a tale from your presentation about tremendous growth, a big bet you met when you were at Worthington, and maybe describe that experience, and maybe how do you balance growth now as you're working with these family of companies within your company's portfolio? Super question.
It's really, the balance is really, really tough. So right now, we have one business out of 3, soon to be 4, that's just crushing it. I mean, they're over the top, beat budget, super team, super plant. I mean, they're on top. We got a couple that are kind of struggling a little bit. And so, of course, we're trying to help them, figure out, how to push through that. And, I just think individually, each plant, at least group we've just gone out and said, hey, we got to grow. We can't be static. And when customers maybe say, I'm going to pull some parts because of this, that, or the other, we still encourage our team to grow through that. A lot of companies they contract when that happens. They lose a customer and they're like, oh no, what am I going to do now? We just tell our team, it's okay. You're going to lose a customer a time or two, or some parts. That's why the sales process is so important. Yeah. We got to keep knocking on doors because you got to replace that revenue.
Yeah. When you came into these organizations, did they have formal sales departments?
Some did, some didn't. And that's another area where I think we can be helpful. We have just a fantastic sales leader, one of the best that I've ever really worked in. I've been around a lot of very good, sophisticated, as you can imagine at Worthington. There's a lot of good salespeople. But we inherited through one of the acquisitions a great sales leader, and we've just kind of pushed him up to our level at Arise Industrial. And he's working with all the reps and all the internal people and just doing an awesome job in such a critical role.
Yeah. Is that a skill that you think is underappreciated within the metal fabricating world? Because even, I mean, our industry award winner, Hickey Metal Fab, they didn't really have a formal sales department because it's kind of been organic growth, and I see that duplicated in a lot of shops.
We do too. I coming from a sales background, I believe in having someone out not knocking on doors. And it's strange because now you can't really knock on doors anymore.
Right.
But you sure better be effective of different sales techniques about how to get in front of customers. And I know a lot of people are wildly successful without a sales rep. And I think I've been around a lot of owners, a lot of businesses we look at when we say, how do you go about sales? They say, we don't have a salesperson. And they actually don't believe in it.
Right.
I just do. I'm one of those guys that I think now it's like any other, there's like any job, there's good doctors and not so good, and same thing with salespeople.
Right.
You have to be willing to try and support them. And we're really lucky. We've got some really good salespeople.
Hey, you don't succeed in sales without failing first. I mean,
Amen to that. Yes.
You gotta get out there and
there's a reason certain people don't do it either.
It is a hard job.
yeah.
I mean, think about having a job where pretty much 99% of the time you're out there and people are saying no.
Yeah.
You got to fight for the yes.
So you listen to comedians talk, the really successful comedians, they say most of our job is failure.
Oh,
and
100%.
Nobody sees that, but we have to endure it and go out there and just hit it hard the next time.
And that's my story. It's a series of learnings. You can say failures, but I've just have never been afraid to try to do something else, and that's how you learn, I think.
Have you always had a sense of humility that allows you to be open about these discussions? Because I find that pretty unique for like a former coach's son, football player, hard charging.
Yeah, I think I have been blessed with the both, being like still being hard charging, but still being willing to be vulnerable and to say I don't have the answers and I failed miserably. Now, I admit, now that I'm almost 55 years old and I've had some of these setbacks, I'm more comfortable sharing that and being more open. When I was 35 years old, I didn't celebrate my losses like I do now. Right. If you follow
you didn't have the perspective.
Perspective is the right word. Perspective is absolutely the right word.
What perspective has your illness given you?
Unbelievable. In my book, I say my cancer has been a blessing. Let me tell you why. It's just a strange thing to say. And when I say it to people, they look back at me like in a funny way, like you really do have brain cancer. I can honestly sit here and tell you it has been a blessing to get that diagnosis. Why? My eyes are open to what's possible. Up to this diagnosis, it's grind, work, make money for your family, grow, all that stuff. And sometimes you just kind of miss the opportunities in life because you're just going about life. You're raising kids. Yeah. You're trying to do it your own way, the best way you know how.
Sure.
This diagnosis has given me an opportunity to say, you know what? There's more to life. There really is. And none of us knows, right? I hope to live till, I just read a story, by the way, that a lady was 98 years old and had brain cancer, finally went down. My goal is to go to 99 or 100.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Yeah. But it's just given me a whole new, fresh perspective. I do get, sometimes my wife will tell me I get frustrated. A lot of it's just because of lack of sleep and the drugs that I'm on or what have you. But I think I'm more patient in a different way because I know kind of like there's a bigger thing here about life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Has it slowed you down any? You sound pretty active.
You see me on another day, I might be on the couch going, I feel kind of, it slowed me down a little bit. I have the benefit that I can work from home. It's my firm with my partner. So we do travel. The both of us do at least once a month because I think you need to show up as a leader. You can't be absentee.
Right.
And so I go and I visit, and he goes and he visits, and we connect in the middle. We look at a lot of businesses together. So I think staying active in life and traveling is really important. I will admit I'm a terrible flyer. I hate flying, and it's not because I hate God bless the airlines because they do a super job to get where you're going safely. I just don't enjoy the process. I get really tuckered out pretty quick after being in a manufacturing plant. I was in one week and a half ago. A snowstorm showed up, and my partner, we jumped in the car and drove 7 hours to get in some sun so I could get another. It's just kind of hard. But I'm still trying to stay as active as I can.
Living the rock and roll lifestyle with none of the showtime.
Oh man, those all hours in the car. One thing that has always interested me about leadership is your ability to, is a person's ability to spot potential in people. Can you tell us a little bit about, when you talked about walking through a shop, looking in people's eyes, seeing what the general culture is. What are some things that you look for in either a leader or a potential leader that you're looking to build up and improve?
I try, and I'm terrible at this actually because I talk too much, but I do try. I'm trying to listen more to people. And if you just listen enough, we just had that business trip that was a great trip, by the way, great company, and who knows where it'll go. But listening to one or many of the leaders in that company, you can just see it. Their eyes are up, they're excited, they love their job. And so you have to have an eye open for that. And the opposite is you can tell people that are about ready to go to sleep on the tour and they don't make good eye contact, and I'll ask very open-ended questions because I want to engage with them. And you can tell in a hot minute, whether you have got a good company you would want to invest in.
I mean, and speaking of the companies that you have invested in, tell us a little bit more about FabriFast and Olympic. I mean, what drew you to those companies in the first place, and what excites you about those companies and the others?
So, again, it started from the beginning. My partner and I came from, Worthington, distribution, metal distribution. So I think we've learned along the way. I've stepped in, invested in some other businesses that aren't related personally. But kind of sticking with what we know, we thought we would increase our odds at success of finding these businesses. And so we went out looking for two very quick. We like the Midwest or Mid-South, I would say. Part of it is because we want to keep a very small and lean and fast speed kills is what I like to say. And I don't like to use the word kills, but in the business that I'm in, to have an opportunity and to run a good company, you got to really move pretty fast. Go fast, but don't hurry. And so we've stepped in, and we have found these companies that meet our criteria. They've got a good track record, a good reputation. They're in metal fab or stamping. They use metal as a process. We know that pretty well. Not that we're the best at, but that's our experience. So that's what we look for. And I get, my email gets filled with opportunities. And if they're not in that general category, I just say no.
What are you excited about in terms of the future for those companies? What are some things in particular in the metal fabrication arena that you think, that's got a bright future? Those are the things that we've unfortunately stumbled on. I mean, what excites you about those companies' prospects in particular?
Well, I'm most excited about the team that we've co-opted through buying or investing in these companies or recruited people into these companies, that's what I'm most excited about, because anybody can go out and buy a laser or a bending machine and do some welding, right? I like these general managers that we have found or recruited or been part of these businesses, and that's what I'm most excited about. Because they have an eye for growth, and they're treating our people the right way. They're following our culture, and so I can sleep at night because I know they're going to do a great job. So I'm excited about the team that we've assembled.
So we talked earlier with Jordan Yost of Laser Precision Tube here in Vegas.
Okay.
And afterwards, he had a certain build, and he was a thing that I find very interesting are ways people approach working with like the new generation of people. And I'm a big enough sports fan, and you've seen the kind of evolution of the coachings approaching to working with younger people. And he's a baseball player. Yeah. So, and he mentioned the coach he had at the 2-year community college he was at, how much of a influence he was. And obviously you mentioned football. Who'd you play under at Miami? And I bring this up, not that I know, but it's like considered the cradle of coaches. So I wonder if you're like only a couple degrees removed from somebody active today.
So my first coach was Tim Rose, and he is still coaching, I think, Ashland College. Great man for sure, great coach. He happened to be there when we had some tough years, and he owned it, and he was the head coach. My second, Randy Walker, came in.
Randy Walker, okay.
Yeah, when I became one of the captains, and
that's
just
awesome.
Think a lot about him and his.
He left a big. I mean, wherever he went,
he did.
I think,
He did. He put a mark on.
Yeah, Northwestern for college football fans.
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you carry those? I probably still have maintained relationships, I imagine, but do you carry like leadership principles you gained in those early years, or?
I sure do. Absolutely. And it's not just the head coaches, but it's all the other assistants. I'll tell you a very quick story from Miami of Ohio. And I didn't like him when I was there because he was a defensive coach. Yeah. And I was an offensive player. Mm-hmm. And have great respect for him afterwards. But, I was recruited in, and I kind of thought like, I'm the real deal. I got a full scholarship. And at that time I was a red shirt, and he beat me up pretty good personally. And he was a great coach. Do you know why? Because he knew I could be better. Yeah. And he said some things, and I'm kind of a easygoing guy, and too easygoing at times. And he turned a switch on. Yeah. And
got you moving.
He got me moving. I didn't like it at the time. Yeah. I didn't like the words he used at the time. Yeah. But he dressed me down in front of the whole team, and I didn't want that to ever happen again. Yeah. Wow. And I didn't let that happen again. But he was a great leader. He's a great coach. Yeah. He got more out of me than I even thought I had.
Yeah. Yeah. I am a big college football fan, and just there's so much that starts in college football in the Mid-American Conference. Oh my gosh! Shout out to Gareth and Northern Illinois Huskies.
Go Huskies! Absolutely. But there's nothing like it. Yeah. If you're D1, D2, D3, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's football. It's team sports.
Oh yeah.
I would attribute, to my mother and father for sure. But team sports is the number one catalyst for my growth in any success I've had. Yeah. Is that because I had to work as a team. And when you're in metal fab, you have to work as a team.
Right. You can't do it all.
You cannot do it on your own, and you will not be successful.
I literally have had more than one people tell me they enjoy it for the competition aspect of it.
Sure.
It was a Wisconsin fabricator. He was a former player at Indiana State, Missouri Valley. And he saw it as a 1-for-1 almost exact. Yeah. You got to get the team together. The challenges are different every day. And I totally kind of I find business almost the same way. As a kid, I would go from the sports page to the business page.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
Because you got standings, you got people trading teams. I mean, it's not one for one, but it's always kind of interesting.
And I would say from a leadership standpoint, if you don't have that competitive spirit, you probably should get out of it.
Yeah.
And I don't want that to be perceived. There's a lot of folks that didn't play football.
Oh, without a doubt.
A lot of women that didn't play football, obviously in different sports, but they're great for sure, but they maybe are less competitive, but they're wicked smart and they're the best in their trade.
Yeah,
so
I would almost
it takes
extend
a
that
team.
to joining anything.
It takes
learning
a team.
to work with everybody. I'm heading tomorrow night to go to the University of Minnesota to see my daughter's improv team. Not exactly football.
Hey, it's a team, right?
It's a team.
They got to work together.
And no one's keeping score.
Yeah.
Thank goodness. But
Their coach may not be dressing them down.
She's now in leadership of it, and they bring in younger people. So it's the dynamic of being a part of something that I think
it's bigger than yourself.
that people enjoy.
Yeah. And
I love that.
Well, yeah, and in any metal shop, I mean, you're supporting the well-being of the people around you by doing your job well. I mean, I played high school sports. I never got to play in college, but my coaches were 110% about see the people around you. You owe them your best.
Absolutely.
And you get that over and over again.
You got to show up. You can't expect your team to show up if you aren't willing to show up, or if you aren't willing to do the hard things. And all of our businesses, we lead with the obvious. We lead with safety first.
Yeah.
And then quality, and then delivery, and then cost, and then how do we make the business better? And it's it's that kind of circle that we're trying to build. But the team, the folks that are in our plants today, if we can't get them home to their families safely, we haven't done our job. So we preach that over and over and over. We try to have the cleanest, most organized plants. They aren't, by the way. They're all in some version of getting better always, and we also coach that up. Like it's better, isn't better. It's better than what it was. So just keep going. Right. And then you don't deserve to be in business, especially in metal fab. If you can't make a quality part, you don't deserve to be in business.
Right.
So those are the two things. We don't talk about earnings.
Yeah.
Be safe, make a quality part. What's number 3? We keep it real simple. We're from the Midwest. Yeah. We're from Ohio. I mean, come on. You got to deliver. Yeah. Once you've said to the customer, I'm going to deliver it on Tuesday, by God, you get it there on Tuesday.
Yeah.
You've done 3 really good things, right? And then you got to work on cost always if you want to be competitive.
Yeah.
Simple formula. Hard to do.
Yeah, no. Otherwise, everybody would be doing it.
Yeah, the earnings would follow. I mean,
you got
it.
So do you have everything you want right now in terms of your professional life?
No.
What might you be looking for?
I don't know. I talked about it in the talk. I think I have more to give and more to share. So I think that who knows where the next tenure will come from, but I'm not done yet.
Right.
I guess is the answer. Do I want to write more or publish more books? Do I want to be a podcaster?
Yeah.
I've done a little bit of that.
It's very glamorous, as you can
I
see.
can see.
You are a podcaster now.
Yeah. I probably wouldn't be very good at that. Wow. So I'll probably stick to my knittings here and try to keep, helping the companies grow, but I don't wake up thinking, we're going to be $1 billion entity in this, that. Just be as good as we can be.
Yeah.
Speaking of knitting, one of our podcast guests this week talked about knitting
really?
with his grandmother.
A custom motorcycle builder.
No way.
It's
there
really
you go.
funny.
That's how I learned to be patient and
Yeah, exactly. And he's really good at what he does.
So you guys really do have a cool job, don't you?
Yeah, that's
we
so
do.
bad.
I mean, this is a pretty nice perk.
Are you hiring?
For the podcast? We'll get back to you on that. But,
Yeah, I got a question. I know you got in pretty late last night, but how familiar are you with FMA, and what kind of takeaway do you have from this event?
So not as familiar as I should be, and I'm going to leave this meeting and talk to our leaders about how we can become more familiar and bigger contributors, and because I think there's a lot to learn and share, and that's what the small time that I was here. Again, culture. I can look around. I know everybody. This towards the end of it, people want to get home as they should and play golf or whatever. But I could just tell enough. Like, this is a good organization, something that I think we could benefit from.
Yeah,
that's cool.
We have Greg Simpson as a member.
Yeah,
so it can't be all bad.
I love Greg.
He's
and
a
he
great
loves
guy.
me because I was with him when he got his hole-in-one.
That's Greg for everybody. Greg Simpson of Ohio Laser.
Yep.
He's got a nice operation.
Great company.
Big Ohio State fan. We'll forgive him with that. But well, that's great. Well, thanks so much for joining us today, Andy.
You're so welcome.
Really appreciate it. And
anytime.
Yeah, you've lived a lifetime in manufacturing and
Yes.
crammed it into fewer years than I think some people with the same experience.
Yeah,
do.
right. And I'm not done yet.
Yeah, that's awesome.
A pleasure.
Yeah.
Likewise.
So go to where you get your podcast, rate, review, refer to a friend. And if you have a question for us, please send us one, and maybe we'll send you a very extravagant sticker.
Maybe.
And that's podcast@thefabricator.com. And I think that's it. So until we meet again, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
The Fabricator Podcast is a production of Fabricators and Manufacturers Association, located in Elgin, Illinois. The show is hosted by Dan Davis and the staff of FMA Communications. The podcast is produced by Gareth Slager and recorded and edited with the help of Brandon Geyer. Sales support provided by Andy Flando. Additional production support by Elizabeth Gavin, Dana Weicker, Mary Diamond, Mike Owens, and me, Sarah Spring. Thank you for listening.